morning, everyone. Good morning, Birmingham. I want to welcome everybody here to the Birmingham City Council's regular meeting of July 21st, 2020 at 9:30. We're going to have our invocation by Pastor Webb. Gwen Webb, you'll come up. And we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilor Hunter Williams. If everyone could please stand.
Good morning. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, most gracious Father, Lord God, we come to you this morning just to say thank you. Lord God, we want to say thank you for looking beyond all of our faults. In some cases, there have been many, but you're constantly seeing to every last one of our needs. Lord God, right now we're asking for a special blessing upon all of the sick and the shut-in. Especially, Lord God, those with this COVID, this virus. Lord God, bless those that are sick and bless the families of those that have passed on with it. Now, dear Heavenly Father, continue to bless this body, individually as well as collectively. Let our city continue to be that city that's sitting on a hill and cannot be hidden by anything or anybody. Now, Lord God, continue to bless all of those in attendance here. Lord God, and those that are not yet here. We do love you today and every day, dear Heavenly Father. Now let the words of our mouths, all of our mouths, and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight. O Lord, you are our strength and our Redeemer, for it's in your precious name we pray. In the name of Jesus, let all of those in agreement say amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Mr. Clerk. How are you?
Sir. Morning, sir. Council President Pro Tem Alexander.
Good morning here.
Good morning. Councilmember Hilliard.
Here, President.
Councilmember Hoyt.
Present.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Present.
Councilmember Smitherman.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Good morning.
Morning. Councilmember Woods.
Present.
Councilmember Abbott. President Parker.
Good morning. The minutes are not ready. February 18th through July 14th of 2020. What I want to do, Ms. Clerk, is let's go through the consent agenda real quick, and then we're going to suspend the rules for presentation.
Okay, the consent agenda starts on page 2 with item 1. Page 33, we pick back up with item 2 on the consent. Excuse me. Page 35, we have items 3 and 4 on consent. Page 36, we have items 5 and 6 on consent. Page 37, we have item number 7 on consent. Page 38, item 8 is on consent. Then we skip over to page 44, we have item number 9 on consent. Page 45, we have items 10 and 11 on consent. Page 46, we have items 12, 13, and 14 on consent. Page 47, we have items 15, 16, and 17 on consent. Page 48, items 20, 21, and 22 are on consent. Page 49, we have items 23, 24, and 25 on consent. Page 50, items 26, 27, and 28 are on consent. Page 51, we have items 29, 30, 31, and 32 on consent. Page 52, we have items 33, 34, 35, and 36 on consent. Page 53, We have items 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41 on consent. And page 54, items 42, 43, 44, and 45 are on consent. Page 55, items 47, 48, 49, and 50 are on consent. Page 56, we have items 51, 52, 53, 54, and 55 on consent. And then on page 57, we have items 56, 57, and 58 on consent. That concludes the consent agenda. And you have one addendum item.
Yeah, okay.
60.
Alrighty. Dr. O'Quinn, let's start real quick. How's everybody on the consent agenda? Morning, Ms. Abbott.
Yes. Thank you, President Parker. I'd like to add item 46 to the consent agenda. That is page 55.
Okay. That's it? Or you get 46? Councilor Hilliard, President Pro Tem. Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Councilor Woods, good. Councilor Williams, you're good.
Yeah, do we have the ability to add 18 and 19, or do those have to be the
We have to do 2 votes on those, I think.
All right, that's cool. I'm good.
Okay. I want to add item 60, consent agenda. That's dealing with the basketball event we had for the Super 7 with Huffman High School. Councilor Hoyt.
Can you repeat that, Council?
Okay, I'm so sorry. This is on page 48. If you could take item 20 off of consent. On page 49, number 23 off of consent. Page 26. Page 50, I'm sorry. Item 26 off of consent.
Okay. Is that all, or you some more?
There's one other.
Okay.
That might be it. Okay, I think that might be it, President.
Okay. If not, we can, and you skip one, Will. You good?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Oh, yes, and item 15.
Item 15.
On
Okay.
page 47.
Okay. You want that one off? Okay. All right. Okay. All righty. All items are designated as consent or routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion. No separate discussion of these items will be permitted unless a council member, the mayor, or citizen interested in public hearing so request. If so, such item or items will revert to its normal place on the agenda order of business. All matters of permanent operation will be read. All other matters will be announced by reading the item number only. All public hearings will be announced.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay. Council Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Council Member Hilliard.
Aye.
Council Member Hoyt.
Aye.
Council Member O'Quinn.
Aye.
Council Member Smitherman.
Aye.
Council Member Williams.
Aye.
Council Member Woods.
Yes.
Council Member Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Yes.
That
Okay.
vote should be up.
All right. The consent agenda passes. Real quick, what I wanted to do is to suspend the rules for a presentation. This past Friday, we lost two giant icons in the civil rights movement, and so wanted to have a brief presentation. We have several resolutions for both for Reverend C.T. Vivian and for Congressman Lewis, but also wanted to have several individuals who have participated during the marches and the civil rights era, and also with Congressman Hilliard, who served with Congressman Lewis. So at this time, would like for us to have a brief presentation. The first person to call up is Paulette Roby. If you could come up. She here? Haven't seen her. Okay, you'll come on up briefly. So we're going to have Ms. Roby to speak, also Reverend Webb, who gave us our invocation to share a few words, and also Congressman Hilliard, if he could share a few words. And at that time, then we will we'll offer resolutions for those two icons.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, I'm Paulette Roby. I serve as chair.
We can't hear you. Okay.
I just pulled the mic closer.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Paulette Roby. I serve as chair of the Civil Rights Activist Committee headquarters here in Birmingham. And on behalf of the Birmingham Civil Rights Activist Committee, home of the foot soldiers, are linked in heartfelt sympathy with the nation today as we mourn the passing of Congressman John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian. Both of these men were stalwarts, icons, and legends in the ongoing struggle for the civil rights and voting rights. We mourn these strong and humble servants today and offer our sincere condolences to their families, friends, and all who love them. Thank you so much for having us here for Reverend C.T. Vivian and Congressman John Lewis. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor Webb.
Again, I say to you, good morning again. But as the founder and president and CEO of Foot Soldiers International, I bring you greetings and also bring our condolences on behalf of both of these outstanding icons and their families. And I will give something to you real quick that came to me, and knowing both of them and just loving and admiring and respecting both, and being with John Lewis not too long ago. But let me say this quickly. I wrote an ode to Congressman Lewis, and it merely says, it's very short, John Lewis was a mighty man. A mighty man was he. He stood up tall against all odds. A mighty man was he. John Lewis was a mighty man, a man who didn't mind getting head bloody, but it was never unbowed. And I can say to each and every one of you that we've gone through a lot in the civil rights struggle. But the struggle is not over, believe it or not. All you've got to do is walk around, look around, and listen around. The struggle is not over. I say to you today, ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing that all of us might do and had better do and encourage others to do, and that is V-O-T-E. And both of these men were strong and stood strong for voting. Thank you so very much, Mr. President, for allowing us to speak on behalf of our icons and our leaders.
Thank you. Our last speaker, and I think we'll bring the resolutions up. Congressman Hilliard, you served with Congressman Lewis in the United States Congress, so I wanted to have you come share a few words as well.
Good morning, President Parker and other members of the City Council. Let me thank you for, first of all, honoring a Native American, a Native Alabamian, a hero, a world hero. In September 1960, I entered Morehouse College as a freshman. In October 1960, John Lewis, Junior Bond, Lonnie King, Jim Clyburn, and others, students, came on Morehouse campus and organized what is known as the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Some of you may know it by its synonyms, SNCC. John Lewis was the organizer. He was the one that really put it together. And everyone expected for him to be president, but it was not to be. Junior Bond came as the leader, but John Lewis always was there. He was the organizer. In the March on Washington, John Lewis was the organizer. In the march in Selma across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, John Lewis was the organizer. John Lewis never sought fame. And if you look at pictures when he appeared with other leaders, he was never at the forefront. He didn't have to be. He never sought the cameras. The cameras sought out John Lewis because they knew that he was a committed individual. And believe me, when Dr. King died, Dr. King was the engineer of the nonviolent movement. John Lewis was the practitioner. He showed us how to live the words. He believed in nonviolence, and he became known in the United States Congress as the conscience of the Congress. He was one of the few Democrats that got along with Newt Gingrich and others. He was that type of an individual. I served with John Lewis for 10 years. And John Lewis was a real silent giant. But he always spoke up, not only for African Americans, but he was on the forefront fighting for gay rights, fighting for senior rights. And he became known as one who fought for the rights of all. So he was one of those who stood tall in the United States Congress for human rights. And that's John Lewis. You know, Nancy Pelosi said just on Sunday that whenever John Lewis spoke, it was angelic. He was always like an angel speaking. And now he is among them. So I thank you again for recognizing a native Alabamian, John Lewis.
Excellent. Thank you, Congressman, on that. I think we have a video. Is it ready to go? And then we'll offer up the two resolutions.
A little over 50 years ago, Birmingham City Hall was ground zero for the campaign of oppression against African Americans in Birmingham and across the country. The black and white images of fire hoses and police dogs will forever be tied to the fabric of who we are and who we become in Birmingham.
Every day we come to work for the citizens in a building where at one time African Americans were not allowed to hold office. It's a powerful reminder of when we collectively stood up and fought for justice and equality and won.
We stand on the shoulders of those men and women who marched alongside Dr. King. Look around you. Those heroes are still among us.
Racial inequities may have taken a different shape since the 1960s and Jim Crow, but make no mistake, the fight continues.
As elected representatives, our mission is to make sure Birmingham remains a beacon of hope for the rest of the world.
Through policy and advocacy, we want the world to see Birmingham as a place that fights for inclusion, equality, and justice.
Every day we're reminded of the sacrifices made by those who came before us. The world would be a very different place if not for their bravery.
Along with the rest of the country, Birmingham is mourning the loss of Congressman John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian. Birmingham City Council sends our love and support for their families during this difficult time.
These two great civil rights icons will forever be inspirations to us all.
So let us use this time to remember. Let us learn from our heroes, and let's continue that long march towards justice together.
Let me just simply thank not only all of the council members, but also a big shout out to Administrator Kidd and her team for working. So I want to thank all of them, the PIO and Deputy McDaniels. Thank you all. And so with that, we have two resolutions. Councilor Hort, you want to? Okay, President. Okay, well, President Pro Tem Alexander.
Well, thank you. This morning, it is my pleasure to join with the members of the City Council to offer this resolution on behalf of the Honorable John Robert Lewis, the United States Representative for Georgia's 5th Congressional District and civil rights icon, who has already been said died on Friday, July 17th at the age of 80. Whereas Mr. Lewis was born in Troy, Alabama, and he was the son of sharecroppers, he grew up on his family farm and attended segregated public schools in Pike County. As a young boy, he was inspired by the activism surrounding the Montgomery boycott and the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Whereas Congressman Lewis holds a BA in Religion and Philosophy from Fisk University, and he was a graduate of the American Baptist Theological Seminary, both in Nashville, Tennessee. He was awarded more than 50 honorary degrees in his lifetime. As it has already been stated, Congressman Lewis became involved in the civil rights movement as a student at the American Baptist Theological Seminary. While still a young man, he became a nationally recognized leader. At the age of 23, he was an architect and a keynote speaker at the historic March on Washington in August 1963. Congressman Lewis is the recipient of numerous prestigious honors and awards from eminent national and international institutions, including the highest civilian award granted by President Barack Obama, the Medal of Freedom. He served in his 17th term in the House of Representatives, having served since 1987, and was the Dean of the Georgia Congressional Delegation. Now let it be resolved that the City of Birmingham, Alabama, with Mayor Randall L. Woodman concurring, extends our deepest condolences and heartfelt prayers to the family of the Honorable John Robert Lewis, whose life was a portrait of service on behalf of others. This is adopted today, the 21st of July, at the recommendation of Council President William Parker.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
The resolution.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have the pleasure, and I want to thank the President for acquiescing to a lowly council like me to present such an icon as C.T. Vivian, Reverend C.T. Vivian. But it reads, whereas it is profound sorrow that the Council of the City of Birmingham, representing the citizens of this great city, is moved this day to pay tribute to the eminent man of indelible faith and dedication. His public service and countless accomplishments will forever stand as a paradigm and inspiration for others. Reverend C.T. Vivian, a religious leader and civil rights trailblazer, died on Friday, July the 17th, at the age of 95. And whereas C.T. Vivian was born Cordy Tyndale Vivian on July the 30th, he would have been 96 on the 30th of this month, in Howard County, Missouri. As a small boy, he migrated with his mother to Macomb, Illinois, where he attended Lincoln Grade School and Edison Junior High School and graduated from Macomb High School in 1942, and went on to attend Western Illinois University in Macomb, where he worked as a sports editor for the school newspaper. And whereas Reverend Vivian helped to organize the Freedom Ride to integrate the buses across the South and train waves of activists and nonviolent protests. It was his bold challenge of segregationist shaft while trying to register black voters in Selma, Alabama, that sparked the hundreds and thousands to march across the Edmunds Pettus Bridge. He was appointed to the executive staff of SCLC in 1963, and when Dr. Martin Luther King named him National Director of Affiliates, he also served as Dr. King's field general during the Civil Rights Movement. And whereas in 1969, Reverend Vivian wrote the first book on the modern day civil rights movement entitled Power, Black Power, an American Myth. During this years, he also started a program entitled Vision, sending students, hear this, sending students from Alabama to college, the program that's later called and known as Upward Bound. Wow. And we know how many young people have benefited from Upward Bound. And so he is the recipient of numerous prestigious honors and awards from eminent national and international institutions, including the highest civil honor granted by President Barack Obama, the Medal of Freedom Award. Many will sorely miss him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Birmingham, with Mayor Randall L. Wolfen concurring, extend our deepest condolences and heartfelt prayers to the family of Reverend C.T. Vivian, whose life was a portrait of service on behalf of others, given this 21st day of July 2020 at the recommendation of our very able Council President, Mr. William Parker.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Resolution.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That's it.
Okay, that's it. All right. Thank you. Okay, got a couple of speakers here. We'll start with Councilor here. Can we start with Councilor Smithman, ladies? Okay, we'll start there and then we'll just work our way around.
Thank you, President Parker. I have two moments that happened to me involving Congressman John Lewis. On the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, my mom and I actually had the privilege of marching with Congressman Lewis, President Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, President George W. Bush. If you can see us in some pictures, you'll see my little head and you can see my mom's head more vividly, but it was an honor to be able to walk with them because if you remember, there were only a select few of people who were able to do that. And just being able to walk behind such giants was such a tremendous moment for me because I was only 21 years old when that happened. And I remember him stopping and telling us about the story of him marching on Bloody Sunday in the middle of the bridge. The second moment I remember, he actually spoke at Hampton University in 2015, and that was the year I graduated. And at graduation, he told us that we need to get in the way, that we need to cause good trouble, necessary trouble. That was the first time he said that to us. And I can just remember swelling with pride that I was all the way in Virginia, and I had a native of Alabama telling me to get in the way at a young age of 21 years old. And it's a privilege now to be able to serve on the Birmingham City Council in my 20s. So it really saddens me to see him go, but also to know that I have a picture in my home of us marching. I can always take that memory with me. And, you know, I want to speak to young people who are Councilor Wood's age, Councilor Williams' age, my age, that John Lewis was very young when he started that movement. Reverend C.T. Vivian, he was very young, so I don't want anybody to disparage you because of your age, because you can make a good impact on this world and on this city no matter what age you are. So thank you, Council President Parker. Thank you to the Birmingham City Council for always being progressive and making sure that this city is always moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll come back. Okay, since we'll, Councilor Hilliard.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to my distinguished council members. I hear my young Councilwoman Smithman, and of course I think about the youth Councilman Woods on the council, and I too at a young age had so many very distinguished honors of being in the presence of John Lewis and C.T. marching back then, along with a lot of our students, which I just think about Alvin Holmes. Then we started getting marches together, and there will be John Lewis and others from the Congressional Black Caucus, and just Martin Luther King Jr. and the others. Was my really first experience meeting a lot of those people. I too was I wasn't in my 20s, I was in college at that time. But then as I moved on back to Birmingham and ran for the state legislature and served there, I had many times to visit around the country through Congressional Black Caucus, and countless times going across the Pettus Bridge was truly a distinguished honor to be able to do that. But I think about, the ground that they laid for us to be able to get out there, to put the fire in us, and I thank Congressman Lewis for it. Reverend C.T. Vivian, I actually met him. I met him now, it's been about 7 years ago that I had the privilege of meeting him. My cousin, who's an attorney in Atlanta, his mother's the former mayor of East Point, Georgia, Patsy Jo Hilliard, and Hakeem Hilliard. Well, C.T. Vivian is one of his mentors, and he put on a youth program that they meet to this day every Saturday. And really up until recently, Reverend C.T. Vivian was still coming to the meetings. So I was fortunate enough to be in that room and be at the meetings and to have a real conversation with him. What I say to each and every one of you, every day is a history-making day around us. It is our responsibility as leaders, as people that's involved in the movement, to make your stand in history. How do you do that? Being a mentor, being a leader, having relationships and networking, just as we're doing now. So I say to each one of you, these men have left a legacy for us to build on and something for us to run with. So if they pass the torches to each and every one of us, I say to you, take that torch and run. So all that hear the sound of my voice, I challenge you to be the next future leaders, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. If you hear me, it's your turn to be a leader and set example in America. So I thank these leaders, I thank you, and I thank all of our presenters. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, and the church said amen. Dr. Quinn, Councilor Hoyt, everybody's good? Councilor Woods, everybody? Okay.
Definitely want to thank you for putting this together and to honor these gentlemen, but I think I kind of want to share a little bit just about the stance they took. I think of when you kind of hear the whole nonviolent protest and stuff, where they made the commitment not to be violent. There was a lot of violence handed down on them. And so they were beaten regularly. And so one story that I'd read about that I hadn't heard very much was Congressman Lewis was participating in a sit-in. And so the owner basically locked them inside and began to fumigate the building and nearly killed them. And so you hear these stories of, their commitment to being nonviolent. And so the nonviolence in the face of the violence that they, being beaten, dogs sicked on fire hoses, fumigated with poison gases, that violence being perpetrated against them in that nonviolent stance is what forced the world to really accept and understand what the racism, what the oppression was, and take that for what it was, and they could no longer deny it. And so that's really what forced change. So I think just being committed to the strategy that they laid out, I think they, just put that tremendous willingness to remain nonviolent in the face of what they endured. And so I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, and let me say that when I see these men, I think about the German theologian who talks about cheap grace and costly grace. He says, cheap grace preaches forgiveness without requiring repentance, baptism without church discipline, communion without confession, absolution without personal confession. He says, cheap grace is grace without the cross. He says, living in incarnate, he said, as people of God, we must not settle for the cheap grace membership. He said, because when Christ calls us, he bids us to come and die. And so this he calls a radical and sacrificial obedience to Christ, and what it says to us that these two men employed costly grace. And so this is what it's all about. When you're a disciple, and they were disciples of not only Almighty God, but they were disciples of this country and of people, of humanity. And what they did was put their lives on the line. And so I'm just honored to be serving in this city council because of persons like Reverend C.T. Vivian and John Robert Lewis, because it made a difference, and it's still making a difference. And we just have to have leaders who don't mind being agitators, quite frankly, because that's really what it takes. They weren't quiet folk. You know, they were folks who made some noise, and that's what it takes for people to get get the attention of others. But they also had a plan. They had a plan. My aunt, who died at 95, who was part of the movement back in the 60s in Gaston, shared with me that they went to a place outside of Charleston, South Carolina, I think Charleston, South Carolina, and how they were trained to go into a fetus state. When they were in those places and they was trying to get them, they just went to the floor in a fetus state. I said, wow. And I didn't know that, but that was part of their training. And so that they would be nonviolent. And Andrew Young was the teacher of that particular summer that they did the training and what have you. And it was just the sacrifice that these people and others made because the movement was won by all of those persons who participated. And so I'm glad to have a little place in history, and the fact that my aunt was one of those persons who was with John Lewis and with C.T. Vivian as they were trying to make a difference. And my home church was one of the few African-American churches that would even invite Dr. King to come, because other churches were scared they were going to bomb the churches. But my church said no, but I have to say this, we were blessed because we were nested in the black community. And so we went out on the front streets and those kind of things. But Dr. King came to my church twice, as well as his brother, A.D. King. And so, but I just appreciate what these men have done and made the sacrifices for all of us, not just for me, but for all of us. And so I'm very grateful. And Congressman Hilliard, thank you for sharing your experience, and thank you for your work in Congress as well. I thought you did an excellent job in telling us about John Lewis, and so I appreciate that very much.
All right, thank you all. We're going to switch gears now. Don't see the mayor. He'll come in a second. We can go to the first item, Mr. Clark.
Okay. First item should be item 15, which is on page 47. An ordinance to further amend the grants fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021 by appropriating $252,000 to Transportation River North Transit per resolution number 2248-19. Motion, please.
I move approval.
Second.
Item is before you.
Councilor Hort, do you want to get a presentation or you want to ask questions? How you want?
Yeah, so who is North River Transit?
Via.
Is that VIA? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do they got two different names? Is this a parent name, and this is what's going on here?
Hold on, good morning. We're gonna have Mr. Mitchell from the mayor's office, and then
Councilor Hoyt, River North is doing business as VIA. It's a DBA.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, because I guess I hadn't noticed the North River Transit name. Okay.
Okay. All right. We're good with that up? Okay. All right, Mr. Clerk, we're ready.
Council, Member Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard. Out. Council Member Hoyt.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Quinn. Yes. Councilmember Smitherman. Aye. Councilmember Williams. Aye. Councilmember Woods. Yes. Councilmember Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Yes.
That vote should be
Okay.
it.
All right, that item passes. Next item, sir.
Should be item 18, which is on page 47. An ordinance authorizing the mayor upon receipt of payment in the amount of $8,110.41 to execute a quitclaim deed, Robert L. Crook Jr. for the sale of property located at 3412 11th Avenue North, Birmingham, which was required by the city upon foreclosure of municipal improvement liens. In accordance with Section 3-1-4C of the General Code of the City of Birmingham, this is an item of permanent operation. I need UC to pass today.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion on the item.
Move the item.
Second.
Councilmember Quinn, Councilmember. All right, the item is before you.
Okay. Any questions? All right, we're ready to vote. Mr. Carter?
Council Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard. Absent. Councilmember Hoyt.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Quinn. Yes. Councilmember Smitherman. Absent. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Woods.
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Yes, okay,
That
that
item
item
should be before
passes. Okay, next item.
Item 19, in the ordinance authorizing the mayor upon receipt of payment in the amount of $4,786.06 to execute a quitclaim deed, Douglas Click, for the sale of property located at 1015 47th Street South, Birmingham, which was acquired by the city upon foreclosure of municipal improvement liens in accordance with Section 3-1-4C of the General Code of the City of Birmingham. Again, item of permanent operation. I need UC.
I move for unanimous consent.
All in favor, let it be. I'm sorry, second.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion on the item, please.
Move the item.
Second.
Is this item 20?
That's 2019.
No, 19.
Okay,
We're on
19, okay.
Yeah,
All
we're on 19. We're gonna get there. All right,
All right, item is before you.
we're ready to vote
All
on
right, Council
item
Pro Tem
19.
Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard is absent. Councilmember Hoyt.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Smitherman is absent. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Woods.
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Yes, okay, the item passes.
All right.
This is item 20.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Item 20, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a COVID-19 CARES Act subgrant agreement with Jefferson County, under which the city may apply to the county for an allocation of coronavirus relief funds under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act in an amount up to $9,299,329 as reimbursement to the city for the cost of expenses incurred by the city that are eligible expenses under the CARES Act, and authorizing the mayor to apply for such coronavirus relief funds. A motion, please.
I move approval.
Second.
All right, item is before you.
Okay, Councilor Hoyt, you want a briefing on what this is first, or you
Well,
want to ask the question?
yeah, I would think a briefing would be great. But in addition to that, I think, so what is the budget and how do we delineate how that money is going to be spent? Because we've mentioned some things with respect to COVID and the awareness, doing greater marketing and things of that nature. And so I just need to understand, not just applying for the grant, but I think you have to have some idea of what the money is going to be spent on.
Yeah.
And I think that, the council needs to have that discussion.
Council Hoyt, after I've spoken to my father about this, just in general, and what has to happen is it's like a reimbursement. So we have to spend the money first, and then give them like a invoice almost, and then we will apply to have that, and then hopefully we will get it back.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out what we're going to spend the money on in order
Yes,
to get.
sir. I just didn't want it to be like it was just a blank check that we would get and then we would spend on it. Because, a budget, you can have a budget and not spend anything yet.
Okay, here's what we're going to do is ask the mayor to come and address the overview presentation on this item, and
morning.
then we'll
Morning,
discuss
Mr. President.
Good morning,
to the
sir.
council. I appreciate my phone call with each of you yesterday in regards to the budget. And in regards to the agenda today, I also appreciate this issue going before your committee and being passed out of committee, to enter into a contract with the county as it relates to being reimbursed up to $9 million plus around COVID-related matters for funding we've already spent. Each of you all received an email yesterday that I know many of you all read around the things we've already spent money on. So I look forward to you all voting on this. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm still not clear as to what all with money are being spent with respect to that. You know, we had talked about establishing a COVID-19 budget. At least I mentioned that.
Yeah. Okay. There's several different pots. Let me see if I can kind of explain. The initial funding agreement, that's item 20, that's before us. Back when in the first wave of funding appropriations, in the legislation, it was counties or municipalities that had more than 500,000 individuals received X amount of dollars. So when the $1.9 billion that was allocated to the state of Alabama, only Jefferson County was
27, wasn't it? Did we get 27 million or something?
No. I was about to finish explaining.
Go ahead.
Of the 1.9 billion that was appropriated to the state of Alabama, based upon the legislation that was written in the law and the CARES Act funding, Jefferson County received $115 million, and that was to use for the county to use for reimbursements for municipalities and health-related testing services. This portion that's item 20 is a part of that appropriation where not only the city of Birmingham, but all of the municipalities within the county has a certain number based on population. There's a formula. So I think Hoover might receive up to $3 million. A lot of smaller cities, maybe $400,000 or $500,000, but it's just based on population. So this particular item is just the agreement with the county based on reimbursements for issues regarding like police, fire, public works appropriation. So this is just out of that first allocation of funding that the county has, that $114 million we always talk about. That's what this funding agreement is for.
So
now,
would this include the overtime and all that?
Overtime for police, fire, public works. If I'm about to get to that, Mr. Mayor. And so that was and I think you remember when we first got in, we appropriated about $15 million. Okay.
It's the scope of services that are covered.
Okay, all right. So that was for PPEs, clean and sanitation, teleworking, and also other issues related to COVID-19. You know, when we appropriated that $15 million, so that I think it was $800,000 appropriated for telehealth. I mean for the technology component. I think we had money set aside. Well, we did have money set aside, police, fire, and public works. Basically, we allocated that funding, and now we're going to be able to be reimbursed for those services that occurred since mid-March. And that's what this funding agreement is with, part of the $114 million that was appropriated to the county. There's still additional there was $1.7 billion that was down in the governor's and the state legislators' purview, and that's where the Senate, the legislature, right before they left, passed some appropriations where they created about 6 different categories, where that was money for schools, money for reimbursement for some of the medical costs. So it was probably like 5 or 6 different categories, and so that's where if we're going to do stuff as it relates to the school board, making sure they have enough Wi-Fi, you know, citywide as they go to virtual schooling this year. And you see the governor's releasing funding every day. That's where the city can possibly apply for additional funding. That's as relates to our public relations, as relates to making sure we have Wi-Fi for telehealth. So if residents throughout the city of Birmingham, there's a new norm on how you go visit the doctor. So we need to make sure that residents are able to be able to utilize technology, but but not at an outrageous cost. As relates to other aspects, as relates to our large facilities, do we need new machinery to be able to sanitize those areas like a Legion Field? So when UAB kicks off their season September 3rd, there's got to be a new way of cleaning the large facility, the locker rooms, and some of the other areas. That funding is what we will be requesting some type of assistance from. If it's we pay for it, we get the reimbursement, I think we can talk through that, but that's kind of the different categories. And I think if you saw last week where the state of Missouri, when, spent, has like $15 million for tourism related, as relates to they're using their COVID money to promote the state of Missouri. So we've got to look at that as well on how we make sure we promote the city of Birmingham to make sure we keep having visitors come into the city. So those are things that I know it's on our list in the committee of the whole to talk about, to get a strategy or discuss the strategy around COVID-19 funding so that we can, get some of that funding out of the $1.7 billion that was appropriated to the governor and the legislature.
Yeah, well, certainly I can appreciate you explaining. I think that's what the public needs to know, not the fact that we are going to apply for $9 million, but how's that money to be spent. And I think people can appreciate that, even as we understand that this is something that that we've already started and that we will probably need to continue and what have you. But to put something on the agenda and not explain it to the people at this level, because I got a call this morning about this $9 million, but those people didn't understand it. So I thought it was important that people should understand, and you did an excellent job of extracting.
Okay. All right. But at our next committee of the whole, which we will talk through on when that's going to be, either this week or next week, there's going to be a request. So if the governor's listening to the legislature, I think we need to make a request as we move forward, part of the new norm. And so that'll be us gathering ideas, but also making sure, because we need some of that $1.7 billion that's being distributed. And so we need to work with our delegation, with Senator Smitherman and others. So we just need to come up with that wish list and make sure it's COVID related. So then we can get some of those dollars back. So that's more of what Councilor Smitherman was kind of indicating, that you've got to, even if we have to put the money out, knowing that we've got an agreement to get it back, but we're able to provide services, I think we can talk through how that looks. So that'll be part of our next committee of the whole meeting, was the COVID-19 funding strategy. Okay. All right. Any other questions or anything? All right, cool. All right, we're ready to vote on item 20, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. Council President Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard, absent. Councilmember Hoyt.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Aye.
Councilmember Smitherman. Aye. Councilmember Williams. Aye. Councilmember Woods. Aye. Councilmember Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Aye. That item passes. Just real quick, there is still another funding component. So Congresswoman Sewell and Senator Jones is listening, and Senator Shelby. We need some of that money too that's coming that they're negotiating now through. That's the next crunch. It's probably be a $3 trillion package. So we need to make sure we get some of that money for Birmingham as well. So that'll be part of our conversation. I just want to make sure there's another $3 trillion package moving through Congress right now. So we need some of that funding here in the city of Birmingham.
Can't we talk with our federal lobbyists about helping us with
well,
that?
that's part of that. Well, that's part of that conversation we're going to have at our committee of the whole, is what's the strategy on the money in Montgomery, and also on the package that's moving through Congress right now. We just need to make sure that Birmingham gets its fair share of resources. So that's part of that'll be the part of the conversation. Yeah.
I mean, do they travel? Do they exist?
Who is that? Okay. We're just gonna talk about that at our committee of the whole. That's one of the items on there, is the COVID-19 federal and state strategy. So, all right. Okay. All right. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
I think that's 23.
Okay.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Birmingham Jefferson County Transit Authority, under which the BJCTA shall provide transit services throughout the city by operating such fixed routes and/or paratransit services and schedule as set forth in the agreement for a term commencing July the 1st, 2020, and terminating December the 31st, 2020, during the city's 2021 fiscal year, and the city shall pay BJCTA in 2 installments for the services rendered in an amount not to exceed $2,500,000 for a total sum of $5 million. Motion, please.
Move
I
the
move
item.
approval.
I have a substitute motion. Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
we had talked about discussing this collectively in the committee of the whole, and I would hope that that's what we would do. This is a budget item, and we've not even taken up the budget process, and so I just don't think you put the cart before the horse. There might be some other ways in which we can arrive at some appropriations to transit. And it's always amazing to me that whenever we get ready to cut, we cut the poor folk out first. You know, the folks who are dependent and don't have a choice of how they get to places and what have you. And so if we can have a full discussion of that, and I could also convene the Transportation Committee, because I think this needs to be discussed among all the councilors. And so my substitute motion is to send this to the Committee of the Whole for full discussion.
Okay. All right. There's an explanation or comments from the mayor's office. Morning. In reference to item 23, the
Very simple comment, Mr. President, and thanks again to this body for letting it pass out of committee where there was a full ample discussion, as well as discussions 101. In a dire situation our transportation is in. I think the good news is this, based on some of the comments that were made earlier, the $5 million that's before you is to make sure there are no services cut. Any delay in not passing this can put in jeopardy to making sure that our residents get from point A to B.
I can't hardly hear you, Mayor.
okay. All right, we're just going to make sure the audio is, hold on, Mr. Mayor, let's just take a deep breath for a second. All right.
I couldn't hear him. It was distorted, and so if he's
okay, direct them to me. Okay, direct comments to. Okay. What?
But you want to explain what he said, because you the interpreter.
No, I'm not the interpreter, Counselor Hoyt. I was just trying to see if there was some audio, like before when Counselor Hilliard spoke. There was obviously, you saw that the technology team came in and made some adjustments to the microphone. So I was just trying to see, was there going to be some tweaking to the audio? So I mean the microphone. So that's why I asked for a pause for a second, just as we did with Counselor Hilliard earlier when his microphone was not working properly. So.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Would you like me to repeat myself, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The city of Birmingham has been in a position before, as recent as 2017-2018 budget, where it wasn't passed until December of 2017, but things still had to be voted upon for necessary measures as it relates to making sure things continue to operate. We believe public transportation falls in that category prior to submitting a full budget to you, where you all will receive it at some point in August, deliberate August and September, and then to be enacted October 1. In regards to transit, the $5 million that's before you is to make sure there's no disruption in service at all. a 2.5 million disbursement for the third quarter of 2020, as well as the 2.5 million disbursement for the fourth quarter of 2020 is no different than what we've done in the last 2.8 years. This is extremely important. It went before the committee it needed to go to because there's no change in the contract. It is simple. It is simply making sure they get their money so they can continue to move. Our residents can get from point A to B.
Okay. So, Councilor Hoyt, you have questions? I see that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna defer. I'm gonna call on you. I know the transit authorities here represented, so if we need to hear from them, that's fine. But yes, sir. You have the floor.
Yeah, well, to say there's not a change in the contract, there is a change. If it wasn't a change, then you wouldn't have to bring it before this body. But I just don't like the fact that we are actually entertaining this proposed cut, this proposed amendment, and we've not sat down and, before now we would have already discussed the budget, the entire budget, and would have made some formal decisions about what we're going to do with transit. And again, this is new. I've never seen it done this way, and I've been here almost 15 years in August, and but we've always had those discussions, had the hearings, because when we made the decision about transit, we had heard from all the various entities that depend on the city for funding, and we have yet to have that. Now, to me, this is not good business. It's not a good practice. But, it's quite common with this administration, though. And I think the citizens ought to be concerned, ought to be really concerned how we are discussing, altering transit when we got folks dependent on transit in this city. And obviously this administration doesn't care anything about the poor folk in this community. And we see it so many ways and so many iterations throughout this city. And transit is no different. And so I just want to understand that this is not what we should be doing. And I want to work with a council that would ask the right questions and to go through the right processes, presented to a committee that has no real function other than to hear it and pass it. Was the only decision that really matters, the decision that the council makes here. That's with any committee. And to put more weight on a committee than you do about a full discussion of something that is so prevalent and so necessary in our city. You can't say and boast about you're a progressive city and you couldn't transit. Where you do that at?
So,
but y'all, I'm mad at y'all, y'all making your deals and what have you, but I don't have one deal to make, and that is what we need to do for our citizens. And I just, this is the first time that I have experienced this. And maybe somebody else had done something different, but I'm almost sure that we've not done this and not heard from all the other agencies, because, I want to see the part where we look at the mayor's budget and see what cuts we can make to it, and those kinds of things. That's what we need to be.
Okay, and Councilor Hoyt,
and that $90 million we're giving UAB.
All right, Councilor Hoyt.
We'll see them cuts too.
Councilor Hoyt, we are on this item with transit.
Yeah, and I've asked, and I asked you, as president, entertain this in there so we can go into a full discussion about this.
We are going to go into a full discussion. I think that was the last item. If you look at the list that was circulated last week, BJCTA was one of the items, right? I think the Civic Center was Next to the last item in the BJCTA is the last item under our committee of the whole. That was the one that we distributed last Tuesday. We are just simply canvassing everyone to figure out, is it going to be later this week or next week? I think you all have been receiving updates to find some time so we all can just have it. So we're going to have it between now and next week, and it's going to be about 17 or 18 items that are on there. It's including updates on the budget, since the budget numbers should be in by now. It's the 21st, so we know after the 20th, they need about 5 or 6 days to crunch those numbers so that we can know what the June numbers were. And so we discussed that last week at the meeting. So we're going to have a full discussion about everything. Even once we receive the budget in August, we discussed last week, we will do our due diligence. And when we pass it, there's no artificial deadlines as relates to October 1st or whatever. We pass it until we pass it, when we pass it. And I'm sure that would include us doing some type of budget tour, virtual, but once we receive it, then we will act accordingly. And I think Councilor Abbott made some notions about that last week. So,
can I get a second on sending it to the?
Okay, well let me talk it through, and I think we can reach a happy median on this. This is through December 31, 2020. So this item is short term, but if you don't get the answers, or we don't get the answers, and having a real full-blown conversation, this is going to be back before us because it only goes through December 31st. So we get another, I won't say stab at it, we get another bite at the apple. During the process, Councilor Hoyt, as I've always said, you and I, we're going to work together on this to make sure the hard questions are asked and we receive proper information and proper answers. Mr. Martin, I see the director back there. I think it'd be prudent to make sure that you meet with Councilor Hoyt, so that they can, as we move forward, and with the committee, so everybody can have ongoing conversations. I think there's a happy median if this just lets it go through December, Councilor Hoyt. We have to. There's still more conversations, more work to be done on not only this item, but there are going to be several items we're going to have some full-blown conversations about. But right now, this is just to get the funding through December. But at our committee of the whole meeting, whether it's this week or next week, I would anticipate a full discussion. We'll make sure we invite Mr. Martin from the Transit Authority to engage us on an ongoing basis, and also engage the Transportation Committee. We're providing, I know they send information, but if there's additional information, whether it's the bus routes need to be addressed, or if I know there are some conversations, I understand, for some of the CARES Act money, there could be some conversations around that. So I think it's going to be a full-blown conversation as we move forward. This is just to kind of a short-term funding proposal. So,
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
In reality, if you cut funding, you have to alter the services. And if you cut services, then eventually you're going to have to look at staff, because you can't pay people to do nothing. And this is more of a serious item, to wait to October and is not satisfying, because then you've already passed something that you won't be able to unring, at that point. And so I just, it's just, y'all already made your mind up what you're gonna do, but I'm here to tell you that I'm not signing on to this. I'm not signing on to this because if we, you cutting their budget in half.
Okay,
Over the
we're-
years, they've
Councilman
gotten 9 million,
Hold
I
on.
believe, 9 million.
Hold on, Councilman.
What am I holding on for?
No, I was asking Council Woods. He was trying to ask. I was asking him. I said, Council Woods, hold on.
Yeah.
You were
But
speaking. You have a floor.
Right, but I
Yes,
want
sir.
the citizens to know.
Well, just point of information.
Hold on,
Yeah,
Council
I
Woods.
want the
Let's
citizens to understand what is being proposed here. The mayor is cutting monies to the
Okay.
folk that need it the most. I want you to understand that.
Okay, all right, Council Hoyt. All right, here's where we are. We have an item before us, item 23. We're going to vote on item 23. All right, next week, if we meet Thursday or next week, I'm going to strongly request that the Transit Authority is here in full capacity to have a full-blown discussion on BJCTA. And I would encourage to work with that committee, with the Transportation Committee, and also working with and providing information to all council members as we move forward. Councilor Hoyt, we're going to work together on this as we move forward. Okay? This is where we are. So item 23 is before us. I think you made a motion. I don't think it got a second. So we're back on the original item 23. But Councilor Hoyt, we're going to work through this. You and I will work through it together. Okay?
No, I mean,
Okay, hold on. We have a motion. There's a motion to approve item 23 and a second. So we're voting on the original item. So, Mr. Clerk, we're ready to vote on item 23.
Councilor Parker, Councilor
We're here. We're voting. We're in the middle of a
President.
vote.
Not in the middle of a vote.
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Woods has asked to speak.
there has been no second, there's been no motion on the item.
There was a motion and a second that brought the item
To
before
put the item
us.
on the table, yeah, we're not ready for a vote at this point in time.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
I think, one, it's important to make sure that we're clear that we're not cutting FY21 funding for the BJCTA. We're only approving half of it for the first 2 quarters, and so that point needs to be clarified. And so they last year got $10 million, and for the first 6 months of this year, they'll get $5 million, and so they're on track to receive level funding. And so just want to clarify that we are not cutting funding to the BJCTA. We're just only approving the first 6 months today. And so they're already performing the services starting July 1. And so if we don't approve funding, we're not going to be paying them for the work they're doing presently. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mr.
Okay.
President.
Yes, sir. All right.
I had
We're
one
good.
quick
Okay. I think Councilor Smithman, did you mean? Okay. All right. Councilor Williams, and we're ready.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify. It's my understanding that the BJCTA received $21 million in CARES Act funding over the next 3 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
So I think that's part of the conversation that was mentioned, I think last week, that there were some ongoing discussions with the BJCTA about what that looks like moving forward. That's what I'm saying. Those are part of those ongoing conversations. This is specifically about the next 6 months through December 21st. That's what I mentioned, Council Woods. This is just through December 31st, 2020. So, okay.
Clarity, Mr.
Yes,
President,
sir. All right, what's the clarity?
is the fact that when you look at transit in its totality, it's hard to plan. And well, let me say this: the CARES money is just like the city of Birmingham. They've already spent dollars, giving folks overtime, giving them COVID pay, and all of that. So I just want to say, just like the city has already spent money and we're trying to get reimbursed, the transit would apply for that money to get reimbursed for monies that they have had to spend the alterations they've had to make to the buses to ensure the safety of the drivers and that of the passengers as well. So I just want to say, so we understand that apples are apples, not apples are oranges. it's the same process as the city. And Council Woods, I don't know when we have done this, quite frankly. And you know, budgeting even at home, you know, you got to have some guarantee. And I don't think there's in my mind, there's a degree of ambiguity amongst all of this. But I'm gonna let y'all ride that train if you want to. But I won't accept that.
Are you saying that we should not approve funding for the BJCTA today? Is that what you're?
I'm saying that there needs to be a full discussion.
What I'm saying, they're performing the service today. They're performing the
They've
services
always
right now.
performed.
Hold on.
Always performed services
One
that
at a
they
time.
may have not have gotten in the past. They've done that. They've been very committed to providing what services they could, and it's only gotten to the point where they've had to alter what services they did. That's why you got VIA now, and but VIA can't handle the issue. They can't apply for federal funds.
I just want to know what's the
Council,
art.
hold on,
what
guys.
Do you want to do today?
Hold on. Now, come on now. Let's be respectful of. You have a question, then Council Woods, you're going to have the floor. And then same thing with you, Council Woods. Council Hort, respect Council Woods. Council Woods had a comment. Council Woods, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I just want to get to a resolution. I mean, at this point, the BJCTA is providing the bus service just as they were in the month of June. They're carrying that through July. If you said you wanted to pay for the first quarter today and discuss the last 3 quarters of the year, that's a conversation. But I don't understand how you don't want to pay them for the work they're doing right now.
Okay. All right, Council Hort. Now, we're not going to go back and forth. So, Council Hort, this is the last.
That's not
we're
what I'm
going to close it out.
suggesting. And, you know, I think, in the words of Commissioner Scales, I think I can articulate my concerns. And I've said what I needed to say. The issue is not the funding, is what has been presented here today and how you have amended and changed the terms of the contract. It has been changed. And if it hadn't been changed, sir, it wouldn't be here.
Right. I don't have any issue with any of your comments on that, but you started talking about people cutting deals and all. Like, we're trying to make sure that the BJCT service continues, and so that's my only
all right, here
point
we
of
are.
contention.
Let me say this.
Clark.
I'm done.
Nick, come on, guys. Come on now. I just asked everybody, be respectful. If you're speaking, Councilor Hoyt, then Councilor Woods, please respect Councilor Hoyt and vice versa.
I lost track of whose turn it was.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, we're ready to vote on item 23. Please.
Council President Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoyt.
Marching to the beat of his own drum, no.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Ain't no puppet.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Councilmember Smitherman.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott.
Indubitably.
Can you spell it?
Councilmember Parker.
All right, that item passed. Next item.
59. Item 59, an ordinance to amend Title 6, Health and Environmental Control, Chapter 1, Animals and Fowl.
Mr. Clark, we're sorry, number 26, please.
I'm sorry?
26. That was taken off the consent agenda as well.
I don't remember. I missed it.
I did. I took it
Councilor
off.
Hoyt did. Yeah, he did.
Well, I missed it. So.
Okay.
1 second, please.
He's
Item
about to bring up
26.
item 26 that was taken off the consent agenda. Yes, sir.
Item 26, a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a consulting agreement with, Mergent Capital Services LLC, a division of Advantage Capital, under which Mergent Capital Services will provide consulting services to the city in connection with preparation and submission by the city or as an affiliate of an application for a new markets tax credit allocation to include development and submission of application and organizational research and writing services in support of the application. The agreement will be for a term of 1 year with up to 4 additional 1-year renewals for the application of NMTC is successful. Emerging Capital Services will receive a fee equal to 2% of the MTC allocation amount if the application is successful. Motion, please.
Move the item.
Second.
All right, the items before us, Mr. Mayor, you want to present this item, and we're then.
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Hoyt, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, Mayor, where have we identified where we can use new market credits? What areas of Birmingham?
Okay, all right, you know what, hold on.
No,
5
he had
minutes.
everybody-
Hold on.
He didn't put it in my
Hey,
hand.
hold on. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess, guys. Come on now. You all are.
listen.
Hold on.
Mr. President, you allow this to happen.
Mr. Hoyt.
Now, he put everybody's face in their hand.
Mr. Hoyt, let me deal with this, okay? Let me deal with it, Mr. Hoyt, okay? Okay.
Now, that's petty.
Okay. All right. Let's get through this agenda today, please. We're going to have some conversations one-on-one afterwards. Okay? We're all here to work together. Let's do that, okay? All right. Mr. Mayor, you have comments on this? You passed out a memo.
You all received this memo last week. I was just printing it out for you for today. It also clears your committee, Budget and Finance, where there was ample discussion. There are no places identified today. I think you all know we are applying. There's no upfront money. We hope to get some money. We're engaging an organization that's been pretty good at this, as you see, what they've done in St. Louis, Chicago, Phoenix, Atlanta, Indianapolis, and Detroit. This would be pretty good for our city. If we are granted some of this funding, I think we then can come to the table and be in a position to say how do we move forward. We've done several of these in the past, including Applebee's 5 Points West, the Encompass Health Headquarters, and Southern Research, and more. So I know many of you all are excited about this based on some conversations I've had with you, so I look forward to you all supporting this today.
Okay. Council Hoyt, you have
the point is you do have to have a plan. And I realize that the Department of Innovation, Economic Development, or whatever it's called, lack real planning. And so it's just shows, you can apply, but when you apply, you have to cite specific projects in order to receive new market credit. I kind of know about the game, having been in development before. So anyway, that's fine, if you all will accept that.
Okay. Other questions, comments about item 26? Okay. All right. We're ready to vote, Mr. Clark.
Councilmember Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoyt.
Abstain.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Smitherman.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Woods.
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Aye. Okay. That item passes. Next item, Mr. Clark.
Should be 59. An ordinance to amend Title VI, Health and Environmental Control, Chapter 1, Animals and Fowl, Article A, General Provisions, Section 6-1-1, Definitions, and Article B, Dogs, Section 6-1-16, Care of tethered dogs of the General Code of the City of Birmingham to provide conditions under which dogs may be restrained on their owner's property by a human tethering devices. Need UC to pass today.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'm sorry.
Yes.
All opposed? No.
No.
Motion on the item?
Motion.
Second.
All right, items before you.
I got it. All right, let's vote. Any comments?
Yeah, this is an item that came out of public safety. Our committee has received a large number of complaints about individuals that have been getting dogs, chaining them to trees, and never taking them off that chain. So essentially using that dog as a cheap alarm system for their house. So what the end result of that is the dog will have a heavy chain around its neck, and a lot of times it's not even of the weight that the dog can get up and move around because of the chain. And then also there'll be wild dogs or other animals that will come attack the dog on a short chain, and the dog can't escape. So this is an effort to curb that type of animal cruelty. I'm a dog lover. I encourage everybody to have a dog, but if you are not willing to responsibly take care of that animal, get an alarm system and not a dog chained in the front yard.
Okay. All right. Ms. Clark, we're ready.
Council Pro Tem Alexander.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoyt.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Smitherman.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Woods.
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott.
Aye.
President Parker.
Aye. Item passes. Is that everything?
Yes, sir.
All right, old new business, we have any announcements? Councilor Smith, you want to start us off first?
Yes, thank you, Council President Parker. District 6 will be having their virtual town hall meeting with Mayor Woodfin this Thursday. It will be streamed on Facebook Live at 5 p.m. And also we'll be having a special call PIC meeting today at 2 in the council chambers. Hopefully my colleagues can make it because I think it's a special presentation by Public Works. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Wood, okay. Councilor Abbott, you good on announcements or need to come back to you?
I'm good on announcements. I did want to say that our next Budget and Finance meeting is at 3:30 on Monday, the 27th of July, and that everyone needs to turn in their requests thoroughly completed, not partial, not halfway, not a quarter, not 7/8, but complete, so that we don't spend hours and hours chasing people around who aren't in City Hall and can't be found. So I would just like to say that so that we don't do that again. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Hoyt?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I've experienced something here today that perhaps I've never experienced in all of my years in city government. What was exhibited today really speaks to immaturity. It speaks to hatred, I suspect. I don't know what the deal is. But I come from the tradition and the mores that there's always checks and balances wherever you are, whether that's my role in the church, or whether it's my role here, or whether that's my role at my job, my other job. And to have a sitting mayor to hand out information that we needed to make an informed decision, put it in everybody's hand, but you just laid it here for me. And as a matter of fact, I have to reach over to get it. Nobody else had to do that. And I think y'all saw that. But I want you to know this is what we're dealing with. I really don't care about deals that people make. That's fine. But this council is weakened every day. And I've never seen where other councils would not come to the rescue of other councils when they had pertinent issues concerning their committee or things in their district that they were addressing. But this council is different. And I have to accept that. But I want the folks to understand what we're dealing here. I've always been a champion for others. That's been a lot of my service here on this council. I think the council president could attest to that. Even when his mother served, you know, I was one of the champions for the bridge and for things that were going on in North Birmingham, because I believe that you got to look out for all these people and not some of the people. And that's not what I see here. But that's neither here nor there. I can't control that. But it's disheartening to me. You know, I don't come here to be liked. I don't serve to be liked. People elected me because I had a voice, and I voiced the opinion of those that I serve. And they have sent me back 4 terms to serve this city. And, you know, there's a lot of nuances that perhaps the public don't even know. But I'm not going to go into that because I'm not going to spend my time on that. I got 4 pages of complaints we've gone out through our district. And my district is nasty, it's dirty, it's filthy, and it's a shame. I get off my exit, avenue I exit, and it's filthy. The grass ain't been cut, and it looks a mess, you know, and embarrassed to come home. That should not be. This administration does not care about the community, or maybe in west of 65, because when I ride through other districts, I see the same iteration of what I see in mine. And maybe that's how he wrote it, but I'm just, I'm a little lost for words, quite frankly, and that's hard for me to be lost for words. But I'm gonna see how it play out. But I think in the end, people are gonna see very clearly that what people promised that they would do, they have not done. And you know, I've been here a long time, and I don't claim to know it all, but I guarantee I've seen it all. And I've seen those who rally behind a person get dumped off at some point. So I'm gonna let that run, but I'm here, and I'm gonna be here every week until I decide that I won't be here no more. But I'm gonna be here, and if I need to do whatever I need, and this is not a threat, but I can delineate, and I can dichotomize what should be expected of us and what is not happening. So that's my comments today, Mr. President. You've had a great meeting, and I appreciate what you're doing, but we're not winning. Because if I'm not winning, you're not winning. And if you're not winning, I'm not winning. That's how you run a council. That's how the council ought to be run, and not you all deciding that, you know, if it's hot, then I'm gonna go right. If you go left, and if I go left, I'm going right. So, whatever.
All right. Councilor Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to provide a brief update about our education committee meeting yesterday. We had a conversation relative to the broader public conversation about Birmingham City Schools, considering the various options for restarting school. We actually had Dr. Mark Wilson from the Jefferson County Department of Health to come and speak to the issue of what considerations parents should be considering as they weigh the options for sending their children back to school. Long story short, it is extremely complex when you think about the number of children that we have in our school system, the transportation that's required, the feeding those children while they're in school, and we've also reached out to Interim Superintendent Sullivan's office to get more information and share some of the concerns that we're hearing from the community. But just for reference, Birmingham City Schools, as I'm sure most people are aware, announced 4 different options that they are weighing, and they made that announcement last Friday, and it's really contingent upon what's happening with the pandemic situation. Dr. Wilson also stated that the level of positive test amongst people who are being tested is still very high. This past week it was around 15% of those people being tested. I believe the CDC recommendations for reopening are around the single digits, lower single digits. So in any case, wanted to provide that brief summary. Also wanted to mention that I think it's great that we passed the tethering ordinance this morning, and wanted to send my thoughts out to Allison Cornelius Black, who is the executive director of the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. I learned yesterday that she's actually contracted the COVID virus, so hopefully this will lift her spirits. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Councilor Hilliard.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to know my mic is working now, so I'm excited about that. But I want to first of all say I want to wish Atlas Stratman Jones a first happy birthday. He will be 1 year old on Saturday. That is my Chief of Staff's son. And I'm so proud to say to him, happy birthday. And even though my Chief of Staff forgot to tell me about his birthday, his wife called me this morning. So I want to say happy birthday, Atlas. Also, early on, I want to thank all of our guests that came. And Mr. President, I want to say to you, I really appreciate all the hard communication that you do with us here on the council and the way you look out for us. I have really enjoyed your administration and the way that you have led. And presenting this program early today just shows your leadership and how you're stepping up to the plate. And, I think about both of those gentlemen who we honored, C.T. Vivian and also Congressman John Lewis. I had the pleasure of knowing both of them and marching with both of them over the years. But it's interesting enough because I got a couple of calls, and early on during the week after Congressman Lewis had passed away, everybody started asking me about this Edis Pettis Bridge and why had the name not been changed, and why was a known racist who really fought. And earlier I saw his great-granddaughter, who was an African American. And of course we know that Mr. Pettis was a white guy. and his great-granddaughter said it was time to put that history to rest. And it's my understanding that there's been some talk of naming it the Congressman John Lewis Bridge, and I think that would be so fitting. So I think that is excellent. I think it's awesome the way we're growing and the things that we're getting done. So I really appreciate all of my colleagues here on the council. Tune in tonight at 7:30. It'll be District 9 time. We'll have our community meeting where we have our virtual community meetings. You can call 205-215-8624. 205-215-8624. If you text us your email address, you will get information in return about our meeting, what time it is, and how you can log on and join us. We're very excited to have you. We've had some exciting speakers. My own colleague, I've had many to join me, but it was a pleasure to have colleague Councilman Hoyt to join us, and he really brought it home. So we're reaching out to everyone. Please join us tonight at 7:30 p.m. Thank you, and may God bless you.
All right, Councilor Hoyt, you got one other item?
Yeah, and I'm glad that Councilor Hilliard mentioned that, because I just thought it was wonderful when you can get 80 to 90 folk on a call. And they stay with you the whole entire meeting. That was awesome, and you really set the bar up with that one. I told them that I'm gonna have to be a copycat, because I just really think that's where we are, and people can appreciate certainly being in their home and being a part of that. I did want to mention that Mr. Brown in my office went to Miss Annie Hall house in Bush Hills. I think on Friday, somebody came through shooting in the neighborhood. They were shooting at each other. A bullet came through while she was sitting up in the bed. The bullet came within 5 inches of her head, and actually impaired her hearing for a brief moment for the ringing of the bullet and what have you. You know, this got to stop. Why do people think that they can go through a neighborhood shooting at one another and no regard for the residents and what have you? And she did say that detectives came out and they were very gracious and what have you, but that's after the fact. We need to get in a proactive mode in this city and how we really fight crime. You know, the fact that that mark over there on 3rd Avenue, I forget what the name is called, but it is a crime haven. Those folks do anything. That little pink building over there, they washing cars, they doing all sorts of stuff over there, and they came up and shot and actually damaged her furniture, and she spent a lot of money on her furniture, and it went through a headboard and all. Went through a wall, and with 5 inches, if it had lowered, I'd have been having to bury her cousin, quite frankly, because she is a relative. But she reported that. We went out and we took pictures, but this should not happen, you all. And even if she wasn't a relative, I don't care who it is, should not have to be enduring this. And these thugs are running rampant in this city. I'm going to call it what it is. These are thugs. And we need this administration to get on top of the thugs. Yeah, and you know, black lives do matter, and that life mattered too. And she almost was succumbed to that. That's not a good place to be. And sometimes I do a lot of reading in my bed, and a bullet comes through, and you know, and what have you. The kids were shooting fireworks the other night, and the fireworks hit my window, scared me to death. And I had to go out there and show the young people how you actually shoot the fireworks. I told them you need to get a Coca-Cola bottle and put it in there and shoot it up. Don't shoot it out, you know. And they didn't know what I was talking about. So I went home, went back, and got a bottle, and I took it out there. I said, now put it in here and shoot it up. But you gonna break out my window. if you don't. And so they adhered and what have you. But that's what we got to do. We got to teach our young people a better way. And but Mr. President, I thank you today. You did a yeoman's job and trying to keep things straight. And I don't mind being admonished.
No, let me just tell you this, Council Hoyt, and we're about to adjourn, but I just want to tell you this. Listen, I hear you. There's a lot of wisdom in what you've said. It's 10 of us working together for the city. That's the mayor and 9 council members. And so we have to respect each other, and that's just what it is. And so I hear you loud and clear, and we're going to work together on things. Don't think what you said is it didn't go on deaf ear, because it didn't. I was making notes. And so I think you'll see it in the actions as we move forward, as we move through the process of asking the tough questions, making sure we get answers, not responses, but just making sure in the way where the council is going to do its due diligence. And so we're going to encourage everybody, always, everyone's input is very, very important, and then that makes us stronger. And so you've challenged us a lot to stretch our game, and I appreciate that, and I want you to continue to do that. And we're going to be better off, and we're able to better serve the citizens of the city of Birmingham. So keep doing what you're doing. Sometimes it is out the box. Sometimes it upsets some of us, but it's necessary for us to analyze to see how do we stretch our game. And so I just want to tell you that, and we'll talk more about that. But there's some things we can do to put some things in perspective as we move forward. I have a different style than others, but we're going to make sure we get to the end result in the end. And I think in the end, you will say this is a very aggressive and very progressive council. We're working towards that every day. And we're going to continue to need, you're a part of our 9, and as plus with the mayor, and we always have to remember the people are the city, and that's where we're here to represent. And so with that, I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, say nay.
Okay. All right, thank you all.